You have activated the podcast from the Psychon Network.
And now, on with the show.
Hi, welcome to the Retrograde podcast, episode 2. My name's Jack Marshall, and I'm joined by Anthony Hobday, Lysanne Fisher, and James MacFadyen. Today's episode is brought to you by Curiouser.org. Curiouser is written by Retrograde's very own Anthony Hobday and details his attempts to sound smart about the video games industry. He doesn't often succeed, but head over to Curiouser.org for a unique insight into the video games industry. In today's show, we're going to be discussing the 1993 video game title Gunstar Heroes. But before we do, let's have a brief blurb on the game from our master and commander, the mighty overlord himself, chief editor of Psychon.org, Brecky Thomason.
Gunstar Heroes is a run-and-gun platformer. It was released in 1993 on the Sega Mega Drive and the Sega Genesis, and was the Japanese-based development team Treasure's first game. In it, players hop, skip, and shoot their way through 7 stages, making use of a weapon system which allows for different weapon types to be combined for various effects. Gunstar Heroes went on to become a huge fan favorite due to its fast action, frantic cooperative play, and addictive soundtrack.
Thanks, Brecky. So cool. Guys, we're back again. Second show, Gunstar Heroes. But I guess before we jump in, how are we all? Anyone got anything they want to share?
Play some games.
Yeah.
Well, no.
What you guys been up to? Anything interesting? Anyone want to share anything about last week's show? Anything they want to update? This is the banter moment. This is when we have banter.
Do we have to banter?
I wasn't prepared for this.
I wish you prepared us for that.
Okay, I've got 2 points I want to raise. First one is an apology to the man. I accidentally said last week she was the first ever female podcaster on the Psychon Network. You're not. I've completely forgot about Brecky's fiancée, Erica, who does the Moving On podcast. She's done a couple of episodes. You're probably the most... She's only done a couple of episodes. You're the most regular.
Because this is my second one.
I like how every single piece of trivia you had, every single fact you had prepared was just completely wrong.
I know, but you're more... So I feel a bit guilty.
No, it's all right. Jack, I don't mind. It's you who looks foolish.
I know,
so,
I did
I'm totally fine with that. It's
I
not
forgot.
a problem.
But, and the second thing I want to raise is only because I've been getting a lot of comments from people over the week, which I want to clear up. I said last week the first ever game that I played was Doom. That's not true. That was the first ever game that I owned, right? Because a lot of people have been coming to me, and we came across last week like we'd only ever played SNES games, and I want to make clear that we've all grown up with other consoles before then, apart from maybe James a bit younger. Yeah. But like I grew up with Atari 800XL, Atari ST, then the NES, then the SNES. You grew up, Lysanne, with what was the console you said, like Mac or something?
No, it's just a PC, just a really
PC.
old school PC, which just ran DOS.
I got a couple of people commenting, losers mostly, but just saying like, well, you lot have never played anything before the SNES, and I was like, whatever, no, we have. So I just wanted to clear that.
Yeah, we just hadn't boasted about it.
Did you just call our listeners losers, Jack?
The two of them there are, yeah.
The two of them, wow. I think they're alright.
I love that Jack is getting trivia about himself wrong now.
I also said the thing is, I said I played it when I was 5 years old, and I did the math after the show, and I was like, that's not accurate at all. I was like 10 years old when I played it.
Do you mean maths?
Maths, yeah.
Okay, just checking.
Well, that's banter. That was good banter.
Anthony didn't partake in the banter. I feel as though you're...
I didn't like... last week's show made me realise what my voice sounds like.
Oh yeah, so you're just going to sit there in silence for this entire thing?
I'm going to try and speak deeper, so that the three of us are unrecognisable or indistinguishable. And Lysanne can be the standout one, because I don't want to sound the way I do.
I like the way Anthony thinks he has to just, bestow that title upon people. That it's in his power to do that.
I don't like sounding different.
Okay.
One little thing I wanted to mention
right,
was just the Humble Indie Bundle 5 is out, and it's pretty awesome. So yeah, I know we're doing a retro thing, but I just wanted to mention that happened this week, and that was very exciting.
No, they're pretty retro-inspired games.
I said, when we're doing the show, I said that we can do indie games, because most of them do kind of fall... They are very intro, like Andy said, very intro-inspired. So it's okay to do things. But yeah, it's an awesome bundle. Did you guys not... Have you bought it, James?
I have every single game in it already, so...
You still buy it, though. It's money for charity.
I'm not made of money, Jack. I've already bought all the game. That's where my money went.
Fair enough. No, I bought it. I'm looking forward to playing them. There's only one on. Actually, I own 3 of them, but I still bought it because I just like buying them. I don't know why.
Because you're not cheap.
I'm not cheap.
Because
you can. I gave 60p. That's my thing. All right, should we jump into Gunstar Heroes?
Gunstar Heroes.
Anthony, you chose this game.
Yes.
Do you want to give a brief description of your life and how it came to be? This game came to be your choice this week. Where was your history with this game?
I mentioned in the last podcast that the Mega Drive I had access to was my brother's, and so I didn't really have access to it because he was 5 years older than me, and that meant that his things weren't my things. So the first time I played Gunstar Heroes was actually at a friend's house. It might be in some compilation or something, but ever since that day, it's had a special place in my heart.
Oh, what, you were when you were a child?
Yeah, I was quite young.
Like
I was
later.
Yeah, I was probably 10 or 11 upwards. I don't know.
Well, I guess before we go around and say what we kind of thought of it, I mean, we'll grade it at the end of the show, each one of us in our different opinions. But yeah, before we start, I mean, is it aged well since you last played it, Anthony?
Yes.
Aged really well.
I can't not
his
love it.
face lit up when he said that.
Yeah.
He's so happy.
I love it and I always will, so it's aged with me, Jack.
But have you aged well?
It's like a puppy. Like when you get a puppy, it's amazing. And it ages with you, and it becomes amazing in different ways.
And then you have to put it down after about 10 years.
Yeah, luckily this puppy is immortal and never has to die.
The metaphor falls apart at the end, doesn't it, when the puppy has to die?
Just like a puppy.
Just like a puppy.
Things tend to fall apart when death happens, yes, Jack.
So you think... No, but seriously, you thought it aged really well? I mean, you hadn't played it for a couple of years, I take it, or...
Well, you played it for this show. But no, yeah, I hadn't...
It's not like you get it out every week and go, this Saturday night, it's Gunstar Heroes night.
Before I ran through it for this show, and then again with James, I hadn't played it for a couple of years.
But you think it has aged well?
Although it was the first game I bought on the Virtual Console for the Wii.
Oh, okay.
As soon as I realised it was available, snapped it right up. I had to buy all those points for it and stuff.
So it was a Sega game that became available on the Nintendo.
Yeah, they had all the...
Interesting.
It's because Sega doesn't have a console anymore, so they started selling their games to other people, I guess.
I was surprised it's actually been ported to a lot of stuff. Because what happened when I started playing it? I started playing it on the emulator. And I thought it was the most difficult game I've ever played. Only because I hadn't set my controller up properly. I didn't realise you could fire diagonally. So I was just firing left and right and up and down, thinking, this bit's a nightmare. There's a bit where you slide down a pyramid.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do anything. I was like, God, this is terrible. But then, so I actually went and bought it on the 360 for the Xbox Live Arcade. It's only 400 Microsoft points. And that was where I played it, which... I did read some people saying that all of recent ports don't do it justice to the Mega Drive, but I think retro fans always say that whenever a retro game is ported to a new console.
Yeah, any change they make is going to be met with
it's
derision.
available on iPhone.
Yep.
It's available on both PS3, Wii, and
I
360.
cannot imagine it being fun on the iPhone with a touchscreen. It's so
Very small.
fast-paced that...
I saw 2 guys playing it on, I think it was an Android phone. They were using Wii remotes. Because there's an app you use to use Wii controllers for
it's extremely portable.
And they were like both just leaning over the table looking at it, squinting. So, yeah. James, what did you think of the game? You'd never played it before, sorry.
No, I played through it for the first time with Anthony. I thought it was difficult, hectic. It was quite scary. I was intimidated, I'm not going to lie. But it was fun. My problem with it, and this is my problem with a lot of games like that, is the fact that there are like 7 levels. And, I mean, you like when this was new, how much would you pay for it? Like £50, right? Because they were expensive.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the set price on Mega Drive games was in the UK.
But it was crazy, right? It was massive.
Probably the same price we pay now for new games.
Similar prices,
like 35, 40
So it'd be 35, 40. Okay, so you're paying about 40 quid for a game with about an hour and a half's worth of content. That seems crazy to me. I mean, it's fun, but it's fun for under 2 hours, and then I don't see what value it would have after that.
So you're saying overall that you didn't enjoy? You did enjoy those 2 hours?
I enjoyed the hour and a half, but there are games I could play for years, and that's not one of them.
I think there's a very Japanese sensibility that says that if you include few levels but multiple difficulty levels and a scoring system, then that adds replayability. Yeah. Because Treasure went on to make some of the most famous shoot-em-ups.
Yeah.
Like spaceship top-down shoot-em-ups in the industry. And those are all completely based on few levels, lots of scoring.
But is that not just really lazy game design then? Is that not just giving you the same content over and over and over and calling it new because it's slightly more difficult?
If that's what the Japanese want? Apparently it's sold well enough.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
It's weird that you guys... Now, I didn't play it in cooperative because I had no one to play it with. I just played it on my own.
Aww.
In my little room.
It's good to get that perspective of the loner.
Well, you say it took you an hour and a half. It took me about 10 hours. And I didn't complete it.
Oh, but we were doing it on easy.
I got to this place called the Dice Palace.
Yeah.
I'd heard of the game, but I'd never played it. I knew it was a real loved cult classic. I got to Dice Palace, and I was going to scream in anger at the amount of times that I got to the last square. What does the last square say? It says, like, go back to the start.
Yeah.
And I had to go back to the start. I know it still says stage clear, but your health doesn't regenerate. It goes down from 100, and it was driving me insane. The Dice Palace took about 2 hours.
James and I were lucky we didn't hit that back
Yeah,
to
we
start
didn't.
square. We skipped it. That's probably why it took an hour and a half.
hit it, died, and then hit it again about 3 times in a row.
Did you not think that was quite a cool concept, though? The whole game within a game, like
Yeah, I know. I thought it was awesome.
Until you had to,
So I had to start doing it again and again and again. But so I really struggled with it. I found it really hard. Some of the bosses I was really struggling with. But yeah, we haven't asked you, Lysanne, yet. What do you think of the game? Sorry, I just realised.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I really did not like it at all.
Ooh. To the point of hate?
Yes.
It's like being stabbed in the
Quite
heart.
possibly. I'm sorry, Anthony. I love you, but
I'm actually clutching his chest right now.
Shoot 'em ups have never ever been a genre that I've been interested in, and
but you are into platformers, right?
Yes, which is why I was looking forward to this, because I thought, well, it might be similar. But no, just really, really didn't like it. I changed the configuration. I was using an emulator on my PC as well, and I changed the configuration of the controls so many times, and it didn't help. It was still just mental,
but wait,
and there was no logic to it, and I didn't enjoy it.
Right there, you're like miming at the keyboard. Did you use a keyboard to play?
Yeah.
Oh, that's why you hated it.
No, I use a keyboard and I'm fine with it.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't use a keyboard.
That would be
I really
insane.
struggled.
No, there's a lot of platform games that I have on my laptop, and I use the keyboard to play the games.
What platform games have you been playing with the
I've
keyboard?
got Sonic for the Sega on
I
my
thought
laptop.
you said
and
you
I play
hated
that.
Sonic. Who said?
Well, yeah.
That's why, because you're playing all these platforms with the keyboard.
No, wait.
I still enjoy it, and I'm still good at it. What I didn't like about Gunstar Heroes was that I found the controls difficult, even though I reconfigured them several times.
Yeah, okay.
I could never pick up the items. Didn't know how to do that.
You had to press down and shoot.
I have to agree, the mechanic of picking up items was ridiculous.
It was awful. I didn't
It just
like
didn't
that.
make sense. There was a whole extra button, just use that one. But then, and also I saw I didn't even realise till today I started playing, that there was a button that you could cipher between your pickups. So no, but you could press one, it would use both. You could pick one, it would just pick the left weapon slot. Then you pick the other one. So why would you just use an individual weapon slot? Why would not just use both of them together? Because I thought, was the idea not that when you put both together they become a super weapon?
Well, yeah, but they have different functions. Like sometimes if you combine them both, they'll like auto target randomly. Whereas if you just want to hit something specific, you could use just one of them or something.
I ended up just using just the homing missile one. Just getting 2 of those, the green arrow ones, and just doing that. Because then all I did was hold down the shoot button and just run along. That was it.
Yeah.
I showed James.
But see, how is that a fun game? Where you're just there running along and shooting everything, and it's
Well,
just...
you said one thing that you didn't like about the game, which I was surprised. I think Anthony can jump in. When you said there was no logic to the game.
Yeah.
When I think it was probably actually incredibly textbook game
Yeah,
in terms of how to beat,
fun.
but how to beat the bosses in particular. You just had to use a basic logic of the boss of how he's going to attack you, and then you would learn that pattern of attack and then just counter to that. So I'd say it was almost a little bit too logical to game. It needed to be a bit more crazy.
It was just so simple in what it did, and it was like you're walking along, 20 things attack, walking along, 20 things attack, and that's all it was. That's all it was, and I didn't enjoy it.
Counter, Anthony.
That's all.
A little bit.
That's all it needs to be.
It really needs to be more.
I'm going to make
Go on.
an argument right now that I think might offend some people.
He's pointing to me, everyone.
He's pointing at Lysanne.
Who are you pointing at?
I'm pointing at Lysanne. I consider games like Gunstar Heroes to be akin to films like Die Hard, in that they're full of awesome shooting and explosions, and I think that sort of entertainment appeals more to men than women.
as if you are playing that card.
There, Anthony, you're playing the
As
female
if.
card that women can't appreciate Gunstar Heroes.
And
is what
I've
you're
got
saying.
to say that Die Hard is one of my favourite films of all time.
I thought you might say that.
The so-called awesome explosions and shooting that happen in Gunstar Heroes are repetitive little pixel art, and it's boring.
Wait, so you hated Gunstar Heroes, but you love Die Hard?
Yeah.
I hate Die Hard, but I thought Gunstar Heroes was okay, so I don't think the analogy really works. I'm
I
sorry.
think it works for me because I love
Anthony,
both.
sexism doesn't work.
Ever. Not
So
even
we need
once.
to get away from that.
If there's a woman around. No, I understand.
This is going
So,
on the
yeah,
internet, you realise?
Yeah.
Do you mean
Adam,
do you
if you're
mean-
listening...
Do you mean do you mean silliness? Like, do you think the game's quite silly in that respect? And
Well, it's because Lysanne said that you run along with 20 enemies, kill them all. I like the fact that it was so hectic and full of explosions.
so you're almost complimenting women by saying that men are more stupider.
More stupider,
mindless, yeah.
Yes, Jack.
Case in point.
It's a
More
mindless game.
stupid, less.
It's a mindless game, and I love mindless games. So maybe that's more a commentary on me versus everyone else than men versus women.
I think that would be a much better analogy to
Because
make.
if a game's full of crazy, awesome explosions and awesome weapons and things, then I go just mental for it.
He was going
Whereas-
mental for it. We were playing this co-op. I was there. I saw it. It was incredible.
What do you mean by mental? What was he doing
He was like
in terms of?
dancing about the rooms, doing handstands, cartwheeling. It was crazy. I thought I was in physical danger. He really likes Gunstar Heroes.
I can. One thing I was going to say about Mega Drive. This is just a random point, but I was going to say I've never, no matter how many times I go back and try to play Mega Drive games, I cannot get used to 3 buttons in a row. Like, I always struggle.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah,
It's but even back in the day, I just could not get used to 3 buttons in a row. I don't know why. That was just my little point. It was nice to put it on Xbox 360 controller. It just felt more natural for me.
Yeah. That's why I don't have a problem playing it on a keyboard, because all you've got is up, down, left, right, 3 buttons. No shoulder buttons, not 4 face buttons.
But it's like you're not using your thumbs though, you're using your fingers, which is like, I've not been trained to use my fingers in games ever.
No, I guess I'm used to
Just
it.
imagine you sitting on a keyboard with your thumbs going like...
Piano, just one note at a time. Yeah.
I guess I'm used to the keyboard thing, because
We've got quite a good spread then, because we've got Anthony who thinks it's awesome, Lysanne who hates it, and me and you who I guess are probably in the middle. I'm
Take
closer
it or
to
leave it.
Anthony than you, I'll be honest. I'm close to thinking it was a good game. Did I say what I think of the game, actually?
I'm not sure.
I don't think I did. I
You've
thought
been
it was
pretty
really good.
selfless.
I actually really enjoyed it. Despite the fact that it was incredibly frustrating, though.
Yeah.
Like, it was really difficult.
Was that because it was so repetitive and dull?
It would be a case of point. Yeah, that would be one of the reasons. And it was just the fact I found sometimes checkpoints could be quite harsh.
Yeah.
Like you would die against a boss. For example, the Dice Palace. Every time you got to the final boss, you're like, oh thank God, you die. You go all the way back to the start of the board game of the Dice. And it was harsh. There were times where it would just be repetitive when it wasn't difficult. It was just the fact it was just repetitive.
Yeah.
But then I was going to say on the flip side, the game does something that I've never really seen a game do before. Well, they do it before, but it's a very interesting choice where the game isn't hard at all because you've got unlimited amount of continues. So as long as you've got the patience, you will beat it. So it's very strange they did that, I would say, because that's just like it's a continuous thing. If you die, I can keep trying again. You never had a live system. You just kept going back and trying again. So it was quite nice that the challenge was more just to actually beat the boss and get it done.
Was there not an arcade version then? Was this just
No, there
on
was
the-
never an arcade version.
Oh,
Is that right, Anthony?
I don't think so. I wrote this down, actually, unlimited continues, because when I realised that, I hadn't really remembered that from the last time I played it. I thought that was quite unusual for a game of this era and type.
Absolutely.
Run and gun platformers usually, like, I'm pretty sure Contra has continues.
Yeah.
And if you're done,
Yes.
you're done. You have to go back all the way to the start. Whereas this has both unlimited continues and the level select. You can choose which of the 4 stages you want to approach first.
But you could never, when you said continue, if you said no, that was it. Your whole game was over. Right?
Oh, yeah.
You couldn't go back. Like, so even if you've got 3 of the first 4 crystals and you said no on the 4th level,
It doesn't say
you
if
went
you're,
back to start. Yeah, so
yeah, it
that's
doesn't say
so
if
it still had that
focus.
harsh element. So it really had that feeling of keep playing, because if I turn it off now, that's it. I've lost all the progress I've just made. So you really wanted to keep progressing, and that I like that a lot. I thought that was very cool.
But I thought the fact that it did have unlimited continues reflected the fact that it was meant to be this mindless, just have fun playing it rather than try to get better at it. You could be terrible at it and still get through the game eventually.
But you keep using the word mindless as a positive. It's like I don't
that's just
understand.
my perspective. I prefer mindless.
Really
I prefer an action film to a thinking film.
a thinking film.
I think it depends on the mood you're in.
Yeah, that's
That's
Yeah.
my feeling.
Sometimes I want to sit down and enjoy a romance subplot,
Subplot.
but usually I want to shoot people.
yeah.
After watching a romance subplot, normally. I had a quick topic I wanted to ask. So this game's quite a cult classic. Gunstar Heroes. Anyone I know who had Gunstar Heroes as a child or played it was like, I absolutely loved the game. It's brilliant. I enjoyed playing it. Why did the game never reach though to the levels of popularity or success that say Donkey Kong or Mega Man? Mega Man's it's not a great comparison, but people know Mega Man. But a lot of people don't know Gunstar Heroes
Because Lysanne.
because Lysanne.
Because it's not a good game.
It's pretty
not a good game.
Pretty much everything she's saying is like, it is too difficult for most people. It is a bit too hectic for most people, and it is going to be way too repetitive for most people as well.
Mega Man is incredibly difficult. The original Mega Man.
Yeah, but it's a lot less hectic. There's less going on.
I guess so. Yeah, no, that is
I don't think Mega Man is as popular as Donkey Kong, and I think Mega Man and Gunstar are popular in the same way because of what I mentioned earlier, which is Japanese sensibilities. I think they're tailored to Japanese audiences.
Could you just clarify what Japanese sensibilities means in this
Without
context?
getting
Because
sexist or racist, that'd be great.
I'm not being sexist or racist.
You've already been sexist today.
Yeah, I've stopped being sexist or racist. Japanese games have this huge focus on scoring and repetitive gameplay and trying to get better and better progressively rather than the story or anything like that.
Yeah.
And Mega Man, you could select which stage you wanted to go through first. So there was no set-up story. It was just have fun in these levels.
Isn't Nintendo a Japanese company? And
Yes,
so therefore
but-
all their games are also Japanese, so should therefore adhere to the Japanese sensibilities you've just described, but they were actually awesome.
I think Nintendo were definitely targeting the Western market a lot more.
Ah, right, okay.
That's why I was comparing it to Donkey Kong.
Okay,
because
I'm with you.
Donkey Kong had a set progression, and it was a lot more well received and widely recognised by Western audiences. And I think that's because it approached things differently.
Gunstar Heroes got very good reviews.
Yeah,
it was
it did.
well received at the time. It was a real loved Mega Drive game. I mean, look how many ports there have been of it. It must be popular because they're still porting it to every device that comes along.
I just don't think it's
Yeah,
as
that's
widely
true.
popular. Like the breadth of audience is not as...
I put this topic in just so I could answer myself. The reason I think it's didn't get to the heights is I actually think that the story and the characters are incredibly placeholder. Like, the two characters of Red and Blue had no personality whatsoever. Like, to be honest, they look like you, Anthony. One of them. It's just
Red or blue? Which one?
I played as Red, I think. Well, they're just two guys with brown hair running along with a gun. Do you know
Blue
what I mean?
looks worse, so it's probably Blue he's comparing me to.
But do you know what I mean? They didn't have nothing. Like, I was thinking if you replaced them with like Captain Buckio hair or something like that, this game would have been much more popular. There was nothing. I didn't even like the
Yeah, that's
storyline.
true.
The game starts with the storyline. It just shows them running, going, "We've got to catch Green," and that was it. That was all I knew of the story. And then
So-
M. Bison jumps in for some reason.
Are you saying then that if the characters in this game were driving about in go-karts and all the Mario characters were in this game, we'd have done this game in the first podcast because it would be so much more famous?
Yeah, I think so. Well, to a certain extent. I think, okay, put it this way, I think if you replace the characters with, if it was
If
Donkey
it was Mario
Kong,
going about shooting guys with laser guns and stuff.
No, but I don't mean that.
That
What I
would
mean
be
is
more
that-
interesting.
Yeah.
What I mean is, if I was to sit down now and go, right, I'm going to draw the most placeholder lead character in a game I can, it would be the characters from Gunstar Heroes.
It would be Kirby, because he started out as a placeholder.
Really?
And they
true,
made him
yeah.
into a
Kirby
character.
is every character, though.
He can be, which I guess is why he stayed placeholder.
Does that make sense? I mean, did you guys actually get the story of Gunstar Heroes?
I have got...
No.
Go on, Anthony.
It.
I have actually got a semi-prepared rant waiting in the wings so I can talk about the story.
Unleash the rant. Go on,
think
like
you
you
do
said.
now.
Well, there was two versions of the story, wasn't there? Is that
Yes,
what you're going to start
that's
saying?
the rant.
Go
Okay.
on, go for it.
The story was so unimportant in this game that they had a Western story and a Japanese story. The game allowed for them to just switch in a different story for the Western audience, which I think is crazy ridiculous, but not so strange for games of this era, because story wasn't a huge focus.
Yeah.
But anyway, Western story, set on some random planet, Gunstar 9. It's really unimaginative. Old dude defeats an evil alien robot in his youth.
Was he called Old Dude?
No, he's called Doctor or Professor
For a
Brown, I
Western
think.
game, I'm surprised it was called Old Dude.
Well, since they're called like Gunstar Red and Blue, Old Dude doesn't strike me as that of a stretch. An evil dictator arrives and wants to reactivate the evil alien robot. Why is an evil dictator trying to reactivate an alien robot to try to destroy the Earth? That's ridiculous. And they use mind control to get control of the green dude. You know,
Who was their brother? Was he
yes.
the giant military guy that was always flexing his muscle?
No, he was covered in green. He piloted this robot called Seven Force.
I don't think I got to
He's
that
one of
point
the
in
bosses.
game.
Really? No,
was
you
he one
did.
of the
He's
late...
the guy who's like transforming into all the other robot things.
Oh, that was their brother?
In the minecart.
Oh, I thought the military guy was their
Section.
brother. I thought he doesn't look like them.
No, he's the evil dictator, right? In the Western story.
Well, who's the M. Bison guy? Carry on, sorry, go on.
Japanese? Oh, you mean the guy on the little
The red guy. That was M. Bison. He
Yeah.
looked exactly like
Yeah,
M.
the red
Bison.
guy was the evil dictator,
Or Vega
the
in
muscly
Japan.
guy was the commander of the army or whatever. Japanese story, an evil corporation creates the evil robot, which I think is better already. It's set on Earth and the Moon, which I think is even better, because we can relate to it.
All right.
Red, green, blue and yellow had...
People can relate to it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm from Earth. Carry on.
I remember the time I fought an evil dictator robot. That was
They're blowing up
awesome.
my country.
Red, green, blue and yellow are all brothers and sisters, and they deactivate the evil corporation robot and seal it away. Okay? Then they
Right.
go on this long sleep, like cryogenic, I assume, I don't know.
Alright.
While they're sleeping, a new civilization comes up on Earth, and a false religion starts that says if they reactivate the evil robot, it will lead them to utopia. Obviously, they don't say if we reactivate the evil robot, because that would be a bit self-defeating. But the commander believes in all this false religion crap and tries to reactivate it, at which point the brothers and sisters are reawakened and have to
Right.
try and stop him. And the green one was lost his memory, and because of his amnesia, joined the evil guys because he believed the false religion as well. I think false religion is way better than evil alien robot.
What was your rant about this, though, that you prefer the Eastern version to the Western version?
Yeah, I prefer the Japanese
Why were we-
story, and I don't know why they switched it for the Western story.
But I think the point I was going to just make was that, as great as that story was, none of that was in the game.
No.
Like, it starts when you turn it on, the characters just run along and go, we need to stop them. And for some reason I'm getting 4 crystals, and I have no... And I watched the whole intro sitting there going, I had no idea what's going on. And that was it, that was all I knew. And then I thought, and I'd like to go back to my point, the fact that the characters are called red, blue, yellow and green. It's like, oh, come on.
That was a bit unimaginative.
When they sat in the design meeting coming up with that, they must have been like, ooh, we need character names. I wonder how long it took them to come up with that, to be honest. It must take a little while. But that's why I think the game didn't get to a huge popularity, because the characters were so unrelatable. There was no...
Yeah.
You couldn't franchise those characters.
Yeah.
Here comes Red! No one cares.
Well, I don't know. The
Donkey Kong?
The Power Rangers.
What's that? He's a
Everyone
Kong and
liked
he's
them.
Donkey? Oh, that's true. Yeah, the Power Rangers. But then they had... Yeah, that's true. No, that's quite true.
But they had secret identities.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. And, you know, Power Rangers was actually good, so that helped as well.
Oh, it's just throwing daggers. Did anyone else have any other little topics about the game they wanted to raise?
I actually wanted to say something positive about the game.
Oh, go on.
I really, really liked the music. I thought the music for the game was awesome, and I have emailed Jack a link to a YouTube rock cover of the Gunstar Heroes theme tune, which hopefully he'll link so you can listen to it. But I thought the music was actually really, really, really good. I liked the music.
Time for me to become the one in the group. I thought the music was pretty poor.
Oh, man.
And I'm amazed, because when I was trying to download music for the show and stuff like that, people love the soundtrack. They think they go Gunstar Heroes, they talk about the music quite often, and people have heard the theme tune play, or the end credits I think playing at the start of this show and stuff. I was sitting there about to turn the game on, put my headphones on, it starts and it goes and it's just a horrible intro noise, and I had to throw my headphones off, not because it was too loud, because it was like, what was that? And I was expecting some beautiful orchestral stuff coming in.
Well, yeah, but that's
and I
because
got this,
you're
like,
used to...
That's because you're used to
modern
Nintendo.
games. That's the thing, though. Like, in the 90s, they didn't like beautiful music. They liked this really terrifying, nightmarish, oppressive, like, industrial soundscape that was meant to make you quake in fear as you played this terrifying game. It wasn't meant to be fun, Jack. You were meant to enjoy it.
Well,
So I see where
You were
the
meant to
sound's coming
survive
from.
it.
Yeah.
I personally, I didn't really go for the soundtrack much, but I just, I I don't know, I didn't find it catchy. Like, I couldn't, if you said to me now, sing a song from it, I'd go, I can't.
And
you said to me,
singing one of the songs right before the podcast. I'm not going to ask
Yeah,
him
you're
to
not
sing it
gonna do it
on
now.
air,
But,
but he could if you
but
wanted to.
it's maybe it's a bad example, but obviously, if someone says to me, sing a song from Mario, I'd be sitting there going, do, 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 for about 10 minutes. It's
Wait, what?
fantastic.
That wasn't from Mario.
Do, 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 do. That was a Mario game.
Oh, you chose an obscure one, though.
What was that one? Do, 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 do,
That was like... I think
Are you
from-
trying to do tick 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 tick?
No,
tick,
no,
tick,
no.
oh,
I
okay.
think your one's from Super Mario Bros. 2. Like...
No, because I recognise it as well. I'm pretty sure it's in World.
Or
Or maybe it's
No,
the
it's
first
definitely
one.
not Super Mario World.
Okay, maybe it's Super Mario
stop
Bros.
singing.
1.
Well, you know.
Okay, listeners, if you can identify what Mario game Jack was trying to sing there, then let us know.
There will be no prize.
You'll get Gunstar Heroes.
So we covered music. We will have our music. I was right there. It was
I think the
really
music
good.
is good background music. Like, I don't listen to it for the music. I mean, I don't play it for the music, but I think it fits the theme of shooting robots.
It's really loved, and when I was actually downloading songs, there's people who have done full orchestral covers of it, and I mean really classy like covers. And whenever they have there's a live show that goes around where a band, there's quite a few of them, but they'll get a live orchestra play, and they will often do Gunstar Heroes songs because they are very, very well done apparently. But I just didn't. Yeah, it was one of the surprising things that didn't really hit home for me.
People will literally obsess over the smallest sound bite if they love a game. I mean, the Final Fantasy I think it's Final Fantasy 7 like victory music. It's like ba ba da ba da ba ba da.
Yeah,
people have made like 10-minute orchestral versions of that and posted it on the internet. People are weird, Jack. Don't let that sway you. The music is terrible.
I was going to quickly cover, I don't know if you ever saw this, there was an interesting article on the Retro Review, and it was basically a guy saying about how he puts Gunstar Heroes as one of the greatest sort of offline co-op games, and he thinks there's a complete lack of offline co-op games today. So
there's been
I never played it in co-op, but you two did.
Yeah.
I imagine it must actually be much, much better in co-op.
It is.
It's got a lot of things, well, not a lot of things. The fact that you can throw your buddy makes for a lot of fun. Yeah, you can throw enemies, you can also throw your buddy, and unlike in, say, Streets of Rage, where you can grab your buddy and punch them, and it hurts them, throwing in Gunstars is specifically for awesome.
So there's no friendly fire in Gunstars?
No.
You say it's just for awesome, but I distinctly remember one moment in which she just picked me up, threw me into the sky, then grabbed me out of the sky, and threw me back up again for about
I was
50
juggling
seconds.
him, and that was awesome.
It wasn't pleasant for me.
It was awesome for me, though.
It was damaging.
He was getting dizzy.
I was player 1, okay? You're allowed to be
player
thrown
one,
up in the
I
air
know,
constantly. Player 2 doesn't get those
James
rights.
is really upset.
Oh, I didn't like it.
Don't juggle me, bro.
These are bad experiences. Anthony, have you got any other... You've got like a whole little topics there you want to raise? I mean, this is your game. I mean, you...
Yeah, the main point I wanted to make is that this game seems to be tailor-made... I mean, if you don't like it, you'll probably disagree, but it seems to be tailor-made for fun, with the endless continues, and things like being able to throw your buddy. Everything seems to be designed so that you can say, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Just like a lot of action films, it's full of explosions and things, and people sit there thinking, that's awesome, it makes me feel good on the inside.
But then you're suggesting that some people are just going out and making games and like, okay, I want half of this to be fun, but I also want half of it to be incredibly dull and just not for anyone.
Well, you approach
it's
different...
intellectual.
Yeah, you approach different likes and dislikes in the person who's playing it, and something like Heavy Rain,
yeah,
you're not sitting through that thinking, this is awesome.
I was. It was brilliant.
Not for the same reasons as a game like Gunstar Heroes or...
Do you
a
think,
modern game.
Do you think it might have anything to do with the fact that the development studio behind this, Treasure, this was their first game after being working under Konami doing Contra? Do you think that
I didn't realise it.
Yeah,
did they actually work on
most
Contra?
of the team of Contra 3 and stuff came on to do Treasure. Is that right, Anthony? Or just my trivia?
I didn't know that either.
Oh, okay. Well, this was their first game. So do you think that might do with the fact that they really just wanted to do the game they wanted to do with Contra? They wanted to go a bit wild.
I could believe this is a labour of love.
Well, they went and remade it like 5 times under different names. Like, we looked this up on Wikipedia, and they've done so many games really similar to Gunstar Heroes.
I guess like Radiant Silvergun and Bangai-O Spirits, I think they did. I think I got
Treasure's approach seems to be crazy stuff happening all the time.
Yeah, they did
without much explanation.
Bangai Ikaruga, I can't pronounce that very well, but similar. They're a really Treasure are quite a funny company because they're not like really loved like Valve. I mean, they are kind of, but they're not like Valve or big company like that. But they're really, really respected because they do games they want to do.
They're cult favourites.
Yeah, and they normally obviously apart from like Lysanne, but they normally hit it on the head when they do these games, and they do what they wanted to do, and it's quite brave to do that. And I was going to say kind of one of the big things about Gunstar Heroes that surprised me, and a very brave thing was the most famous thing about the game probably is the bosses. Just constant bosses, everything, and that was really a brave thing to do. To go, you know what? Why don't we just make the whole game boss encounters, pretty much?
Well, I was saying this to James. It makes sense that they later went on to make shoot 'em ups because in shoot 'em ups, classically, you have mid-level bosses, end-level bosses, and they tell you the name of the boss, the fact they're approaching, and the attacks they can use, and all of that happens in Gunstar Heroes. So it's really like a shoot 'em up in run and gun platformer form.
It's almost closer to a shoot 'em up or a shmup, which I hate calling it that. It's closer to a shoot 'em up than it is a platformer.
Yeah, definitely. The platforms seem to be incidental to the gameplay because you can just run wherever you want and shoot rather than having to think where you should be.
But I was going to say, because I looked up a few articles about boss encounters and how to design boss encounters and how they work, stuff like that. And it's interesting because everything I looked up about boss encounters, it didn't apply to Gunstar Heroes. Like, basically, people were saying how you should, there should be, like, the boss should be an intro, it should be built up, you should learn a skill. For example, like in The Legend of Zelda, during a castle or a dungeon, you might get the boomerang. Then that boss, then you get a chance to practice with the boomerang.
Yes.
And then you fight a boss who will test your skills with the boomerang.
Yeah.
That never happened in Gunstar Heroes or anything like that. Any website that I found saying these are the stages that a boss should go through, Gunstar Heroes kind of ignored it, and it was just boss encounter. You just have to work out how to kill them. I mean, most of the bosses, none of them ever involved logic or puzzle solving to beat them. Like there was never a case of make the boss like follow you onto this platform and then press a button and a big foot stomp down and was like that. There was no logic like that. It was just find out where to hide while the boss attacks and then shoot them when you get the chance and then hide again. There was never a weak spot either. All the bosses were just shoot the boss. Just shoot them.
And that's the same as shoot 'em ups. You just shoot the boss until they die.
But it was very. It was a bizarre. It was the most interesting thing about the game. Definitely, I think, was all the boss encounters. I mean, there was one boss encounter which was painfully annoying in the dice palace. It was called something like curry and chips. Did any of you guys fight this guy? Do you know who I'm talking about? He just looks like a big turd.
Like a blob. Yeah.
He just looks like a turd. And I don't even know what I was doing to kill him. But
he starts doing these dancing moves.
He just waves his legs and then just walks up to you. And it was the weirdest boss.
Is he the guy you have to beat to death with your bare fist?
Yeah, you couldn't get a gun. It was one where you land where there was no guns, so you had to fight him. This big old piece of poo, basically, coming at you with a weird face. It was a really strange boss.
James and I were commenting on how strange the bosses are in the Dice Palace, because they're all a bit like the big laughing face with the...
That was terrifying.
Yeah.
That was quite terrifying.
Combined with the music as well, just the sheer terror I experienced during that was...
Well, there was one that was just these two red balls just bouncing around, and there was just a wall bouncing around. And I was like, good. The creative team, when they got to him, must have went, what other bosses can we do? 2 blobs and a wall? Yeah, put it in, that'll do. What about this next one? Bit of poo? That'll do, put him in as well. My favourite boss was the end of the second world, where he turns into 7 different things.
Yeah.
And
that's what we were talking about, 7 Force.
That's the brother, dude.
Yeah, and... Oh, that's the brother one, okay. Yeah, and he was awesome, because even though all of the bosses mostly were just trial and error, you just learn how to not counter, but where you had to go, or where you had to be on the screen, or how to react to their attacks. But that one was really fun, because you'd learn one, then a new one would come up, you'd be like, oh, who's this? Like, he turned into a gun now. Then he turned into like an eagle that was like shifted its arms really weird.
And he'll choose different versions of his 7, different configurations on different playthroughs.
Oh, really?
So that kind of makes it interesting, because the second time you play through it, he might choose 4 or 5 different robots.
Yeah.
And you won't see some of them the first time. So that's kind of mixing it up for the next playthrough.
But it was... it definitely was a very interesting game in terms of bosses, because, like you say, like that smiley face one, you meet him once, he never even attacked me. I don't think he even
smiled.
Yeah, he
sat there smiling.
It was really freaky. I read. I was going to ask you this, Anthony. I read some trivia that apparently a lot of the bosses were based on bosses from other video games. Like the one I've already mentioned was M. Bison or Vega in Japan. Basically looked exactly like whoever that lead guy was. I don't know what his role was.
Smash Die Casey.
But I couldn't recognise any of the other characters from other games. So my trivia that I looked up was pretty useless. I just read the first line and went...
I think it was
usual.
At least it's not wrong this time.
Well, there's one boss that looks like M. Bison, then that's all I've got out of that. But yeah. But no, the bosses are awesome. I think they're fantastic.
The first one is just a big bit of asparagus.
I did laugh at that.
That's one thing. I got to that boss and I was like, right, here's the boss at the end of the level, and I'm like, seriously.
And the one after that's just
this bit of asparagus.
The one after that's just a bunch of cardboard boxes that break down.
No, it's hay bales.
Exactly.
Definitely hay bales.
Because
you're standing on a massive mountain of hay bales.
Oh, I
thought that was a pyramid. I'll be honest. I thought it was just a pyramid.
I'm pretty sure they're hay bales.
I didn't make that connection. But yeah, there was so many bosses. There was I'm trying to think of some of the later ones now, to be honest. The guy on the helicopter was probably one of the harder ones, I thought.
Yeah, as much as I love the game, the bosses are a bit nonsensical until you get towards the end and you start fighting human beings.
None of them had like AI. None of them were intelligent bosses. They were just patterns. They were just learn a pattern thing. But it was still really fun for that. It was still awesome. You had to learn. I couldn't stand though when there was the one where you're going down a tunnel on the robot. Something about having to double jump to get to the other side of the tunnel. Do you know what I mean? Like you press jump once and the machine will just go up and then back down again. But you had to double jump to go to the other wall. I struggled so much. I thought
that was the best part of the game. It reminded me of the toboggan levels in Donkey Kong Country, you know?
Yeah, no, I know what it's about. It was just, I guess maybe because it was quite a challenge to remember to go double jump, double jump, double jump.
You need a lot of coordination if you haven't played it.
Yeah, I was just slapping my hand against my face.
Actually,
I was falling over.
That reminds me of the best thing I think about the game is the fact that with each new level, it like introduces a new gimmick, or like a new shtick that you have to abide by. Like the first level, you're just running about and doing whatever. And the second level, was that the one with the minecart?
Second level is the minecarts.
Yeah. The third level had I think you have to just keep climbing up and up and up, or you die, right?
Yeah, you're going onto the giant blimp thing.
And the fourth level had the Dice Palace.
Yeah, and then there's like the spaceship stuff.
And it becomes a shoot 'em up after that. Yeah, it actually properly becomes a shoot 'em up.
Yeah. Which is maybe a foreshadowing of their later actual shoot 'em ups.
What was the other thing I was going to talk about? Not after the bosses. I've gone completely blank what I was going to ask as well. Does anyone have any topics?
In the meantime, James and I had two little points that we...
Go on, then.
While we were playing it, two things that stuck out to me. At one point, we noticed that the enemies were endless.
Yes.
And James said, Call of Duty, eat your heart out. Because they were endless unless you move forward. Which is exactly how Call of Duty does it.
Yes.
And the first ones, I'm not sure about the later ones.
I quickly learned to just keep moving.
Yeah.
Never stop.
We thought maybe Call of Duty had a lot to thank Gunstar Heroes for.
But then was that the first game to introduce unlimited enemies, if you don't...
Probably not, but I like to believe it is, anyway.
Thank Gunstar Heroes.
Gunstar Heroes influenced every game ever made.
I remember what I was going to say about another thing that would have made... I'll be honest, back in the day, if I'd got this game as a kid, I would have gone nuts for it. Because there was lots of stuff to still experiment with. And the big one was the weapons.
Yeah.
So 4 weapons that could all be combined together to make 16 variations of weapons. That's all my quick math in my head.
You're absolutely right,
yeah. So there was 16 different methods of killing. And I didn't even experiment most of them. I just used the auto-aiming thing. But then I started using the fire at one point, and I was like, wow, this is actually pretty badass.
Can I just take a moment to say that you're both wrong and it's 14?
What? 14?
Because order doesn't count as 10 combinations of 2 weapons plus the 4 original weapons on their own is 14.
Okay, that's quicker than my maths. So yeah.
Viewers can... Well, no, it's not quick. I did it before.
Did you
for a long time over it.
Did you guys find yourself leaning towards one particular preference of weapon combination?
Yeah.
I taught James early on what easy mode is, and it is, well, apart from actual easy mode, you get
that. Which we also used, by the way.
We switched to easy mode because
normal.
Normal was too difficult for the both of us.
Whooped. Yeah. Carry on.
If you use the homing weapon and the lightning weapon, it creates this square of lightning that immediately jumps to new enemies that come on the screen.
Oh, I used that, yeah.
And if you start using that, basically the screen will be cleared of enemies for the entire run through.
But that's quite bad balancing, isn't it, in the game, if that's true? If that actually is the case.
Maybe how we were able to complete it in an hour and a half.
Did you use free shoot or fixed shot?
I always use free shoot.
I use free shoot.
I don't get what the advantage would be of having to stay still to shoot.
Yeah, exactly. I stayed on free shot.
I guess you could aim better, I think was the idea. But
you didn't have to aim. Everything was all over the screen. You was just jump around and shoot constantly.
You really
and
didn't
you
like
would kill
this
everything.
game.
I really didn't like this game.
I'm looking forward to your rating. I don't think you're going to use numbers. I think you're going to use some kind of evil chant.
I'll be using the Bristol stool chart, actually. That's my rating.
The game at the time got one of the highest reviews from Electronic Gaming Monthly magazine, where they gave it, in all their categories, a 9999. Across the board.
Wow.
And they said they gave it Editor's Choice Platinum Award and Game of the Month awards, and the editor at the time, Martin Alessi, said this is one of the best looking carts I've seen from Sega in a while. The animation is slick and can be as can be, and use of multiple sprites to form bosses is extremely well done. Definitely one of the most intense games I've seen on the home video game scene. Great gameplay, 2-player simultaneous action and non-stop intensity from beginning to end. Graphically, do you think it's aged well?
Compared to a lot of games, yeah. Especially like the special effects stuff. Like they have near the end there's like a kind of a pseudo 3D part, which is like the mode 7 in Mario Kart.
It's like a chamber in the middle.
Yeah,
kind of
which I thought was cool. And the guy who's made of like blocks or hay bales or whatever, like he rotates perfectly in 3D.
For the Mega Drive, this game did a lot that other games couldn't do, and it surprised a lot of people at the time because of all the rotating and scaling sprites.
Yeah.
Because the Mega Drive couldn't really handle it. And you notice slowdown in some scenes when there's 2 of you, both firing weapons, lots of enemies on the screen. We've got about 4 frames a second out of those scenes, I think.
I think it's aged particularly well. I don't think animation-wise it hasn't done very well animation-wise, but how I think colour-wise, it looked fantastically colourful, and that was probably the big thing that stood out for me. Even when I turned it on, even the logo for Treasure came up, it's like beautiful purple and yellow, and then it's big red writing of Gunstar Heroes takes over the whole screen.
Yeah.
And it's an incredibly colourful game. Like, it's really lovely done.
It's really Lovely done, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first.
Very lovely done. What games do you think? How did it go on to influence any other games? Because I the big one that I honestly think is a lot better is Metal Slug, but that was obviously after Gunstar.
I love Metal Slug, and I think it has been. I think if not Gunstar Heroes, then this sort of game would influence Metal Slug hugely.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I love them as well, and they're very similar in gameplay, like run and gun.
Japanese Neo Geo.
Yeah,
they definitely were influenced by.
But they were more arcade, so you definitely didn't have unlimited continues in Metal Slug.
And obviously, this game kind of came off of the back of Contra.
Yeah,
Contra did it kind of first, I guess. So that was kind of the almost a homage to Contra. And I also wrote down Ninja Gaiden, but I don't think that would
Really?
I think that kind of.
Well, in fact, that you're moving from left to right.
It's a bad one, I'll admit. I mean,
Ninja Gaiden has platforms and weapons.
That's true.
And so does Gunstar Heroes. So logically,
so does Super Mario 64, though.
Yeah, and that was influenced by Gunstar Heroes.
Oh, okay, yeah,
so
that makes sense.
And some little bits of trivia, and these are
Don't
genuine.
You dare say Mario's influenced by Gunstar Heroes? Jesus Christ!
She genuinely looks furious.
Some little bits of trivia. There was a Brazilian Master System port that is incredibly hard to get hold of. Very rare because it was so bad, apparently.
Wait, what is a Brazilian Master System? Oh, no, wait.
There was a version for the Master System.
Okay.
It was Brazilian, not Brazilian Master System.
What is this exotic console?
And there's also a Game Gear version, apparently.
Yes.
But both of them didn't have the hardware and stuff to handle it. So
I
it was just a
haven't played the
mess.
Game Gear version. But they did release a sequel, Gunstar Superheroes.
That's right, on the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
Many years, about like 8 years later, which is kind of interesting.
Was kind of weird, but apparently it was very well received.
Oh, really?
I've tried to play it a few times, but
You found it boring and repetitive.
it didn't have the same charm, I'll admit that. But it might have been the smaller screen,
The concept art as well, when they were coming up with ideas for the game was originally known as Blade Gunner, which I thought
That would have been
a bit close to Blade Runner. So they thought,
A little bit of copyright infringement there.
and then they
I like
thought,
that,
well,
that's
let's
good.
get rid of Blade Gunner and let's call it Lunatic Gunstar. Which would be a great name for a rock band, I think, Lunatic Gunstar. And
I
then
like
they came up with
Lunatic
Gunstar
Gunstar,
Heroes.
'cause
I
it
like
is-
Lunatic Gunstar.
It's pretty full of lunacy.
If I rewrote the story, the lead character would have been mental, going on a killing spree. That would be my thing.
So instead of colours, you'd have them named like mental, depraved, insane.
Yeah.
Sociopath.
Yeah.
He's always my favourite.
And the enemies are actually like doctors that are trying to stop him.
Civilian,
But no!
police.
Well, if you think about it,
elderly women.
Baby.
the Blade Runner pun
I wanna
in
play that game.
Blade Gunner, they're trying to shut down this evil cyborg.
Clever.
So it's very Blade Runner-esque, but they're using guns
I
to
didn't
do
even
it.
Make that connection.
Blade Gunner.
And the lunacy thing works with the moon angle as well. So it's...
Yes, because they've got to go to the moon and shut down the giant evil robot. The other point, and this comes into influence, that James and I noticed while we were playing, is that the Dice Palace would later be used, the concept, in Devil May Cry 4,
Oh, yeah.
in which you hit a dice with your weapon to make it land on a number, and that moves you forward on a game board, and then you fight enemies or pick up items depending on what you land on.
I think I've seen it as well at the end of Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh, yeah?
You go on a big dice board, you play Grunty's big dice board game thing, and that was kind of similar. But yeah, there's something funny about that. That's what it was. It wasn't
Okay,
the Grunty's
just checking.
big dice board thing, but it was there. I've only got really one more point to. Well, actually, no, I've got one more. Actually, we said about earlier. It's weird. This was never an arcade game because it feels very arcade game.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I did Google that whilst we've been recording, and yeah, there's no record of it on the
Oh,
internet.
is that? Oh, I thought you just got bored or something. I didn't
No.
realise
I was googling stuff, but then I couldn't
that's what
find.
the-
I
that's
couldn't
what the
find evidence to
That's what the
then
listeners are doing. They're like,
to then
"Oh."
confirm or deny anything we were
Yeah,
saying.
it's strange.
Yeah.
It was never an arcade game.
Yeah, no, I could see it working really, really well on an arcade. I think a joystick would help, and I think having proper dedicated buttons would help in terms of playability. And yeah, the frantic, frenzied action of it would be perfect for an arcade environment and would keep kids pumping in their money.
How was it, Anthony, back in the day using a Mega Drive controller? I mean, would you be able to go back and now and play it with a Mega Drive controller? Would you just feel too uncomfortable?
I think every time I put a Mega Drive controller in my hands these days, it feels weird.
Yeah.
Because it's an odd shape.
A NES controller is the weirdest one because you're just like, what the
It's
hell?
got square edges, that's a bit
Yeah.
weird. But
Yeah, and the
stabs you.
corners used to dig in your hands.
I think nostalgia would help me get used to it quick enough.
Well, I was looking on game trailers because they'd done a little replay of this game, and one of the real emphasis they made was that this game, like they compared it to like trying to imagine Halo on PS3 or Mario on a PlayStation 3 or I don't know, a PS3 game on 360. They said they couldn't imagine Gunstar Heroes on any other console at the time than the Mega Drive or in America the Genesis. And I thought that was quite an interesting point to make, because I thought, no, I could imagine this on the SNES.
Yeah.
But do you think I can understand where they're coming from, because it did have that sort of, I don't know when you guys are growing up, but Mega Drive kids, Nintendo consoles have always not been the cool console to have every generation.
What?
No, it's true.
Yeah, but Jack, you failed to consider one key point here, and that is that Sega do what Nintendo don't. So,
well, that's exactly why I think this game.
Did nobody-
Why are you
on the
hating on
Genesis.
Nintendo? Jesus
No,
Christ.
Nintendo would make fantastic consoles, but when I was at school, the cool kids had Mega Drives and the losers had SNES.
all right,
No,
I thought you
it
were
was
going the other way. Really?
No, it was
Yeah,
it was the other way around at my
Because Mega
school.
Drive-
Cool kids had the
Mega Drive
Nintendos.
had like a black aggressive pointy controller, and it was like it was a bit orange, and the actual console was black, and it sat there purring like a Jaguar. The SNES was like going, "Hello, I'm over here, play me. I've got colourful buttons."
Seriously, I remember
That
the
was-
Mega
No.
Drive kids. They were in the corner smoking, taking heroin and stuff, just messing up their lives. The SNES kids were in the library studying, going on to be lawyers and doctors.
That's my point. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, Mega Drive was a
Yeah.
much more
Was
aggressive
that the type
console.
of child that you strive to be?
No, but Mega Drive was a much more aggressive console, and as such, a game like Gunstar Heroes, which is quite an aggressively fast game
Yeah.
compared to, say, Mario or Donkey Kong on
Yeah.
the SNES. And that's why I got the feeling that they were saying this should be on the Genesis. And then it carries on for every generation. I was going to say the N64 compared to the PlayStation. PlayStation was far cooler. Like the cool games on there, you had Lara Croft and like Tony Hawk's, while we had
Yeah,
Banjo
see-
Kazooie.
64 had
But
Tony
it
Hawk's as
depends.
well.
This is what I've always found. It depends on what type of games you enjoy.
Yeah.
And shoot 'em ups, as I've already said, is a genre that I've never liked. And so typically those games are on things like Mega Drives and PlayStations. And I've had PlayStations and everything, but they didn't pump out the games that I liked. Whereas Nintendo pretty much always have.
You had a Mega Drive, though, Anthony, didn't you? So you were one of the hard kids at school.
No, his brother had a Mega Drive.
Oh, so your brother is he in prison now? Your brother?
He's got tattoos all over his body.
He's got a Sonic tattoo on his back. Taking stabbing Mario.
He's got a lover called Bubba.
Well, we're coming up on. We've got like 50 minutes into the show now. So, has anyone got any topics they'd like to round up on the last points of Gunstar Hero before we go into the retrograding part of the show?
Just one little bit. In Gunstar Heroes, I pointed out to James that you can jump off the edge of the screen.
Yeah.
For awesome, and it makes no sense realistically because there's nothing on the edge of the screen in the world.
Oh, you don't mean you can? Like, I know you can fall off and lose a bit
No,
of
I'm
health
saying you
and
can
then
like
launch yourself back up
wall
again.
jump just off the edge of the
Really?
monitor.
Oh,
Like,
I
there's
never
nothing
did
in the
that.
game that you're jumping off, but they just put it in because it was awesome, and I think that's what inspired a lot of the things in this game. They put it in because it was awesome.
Illogical.
I got to admit, actually, I was surprised with how much control of the character you did have. Like, you could hang off stuff, you could backflip, you could lob people around, and you could slide on the floor, which was surprisingly quite a powerful move to
You
do,
press
especially
jump.
on enemies.
You press jump twice, you could dive through the
You
air.
just
as well.
leap into the enemies if you got bored of shooting them with laser guns. Literally, just dive into them. For no
We had a little stretch of just throwing each other at enemies.
Yeah.
And we realised that if you dive into an enemy, it does way more damage than a gun does for some reason. But it looked more awesome.
It was, yeah, everything the guy did was more powerful generally than guns, which was interesting, I found. Like, lobbing an enemy was an instant kill. And like, when I lobbed the big doo-doo monster thing, when I threw him, that would knock off loads of his health, but like sliding into him, only knocked off like a little bit and stuff like that. Yeah, I said doo-doo
What a
monster.
bizarre-
Yeah, no, it's just
Doo-doo
yeah, no,
monster,
it's fine,
okay.
it's fine.
Anthony, was there any more points you'd like to raise about the game? I mean, this was your love child. You chose this one, love child. This is your like.
Wait, did you just call him Love Child? Like, this is your Love Child.
He's
Love
red and
Child.
blue's love child. I didn't realise they were related to Yellow. I thought it was the only bit of storyline. I thought it was a bit of a romantic interest when they go and save Yellow. Then I found out it's their sister.
That's incestuous. That's horrible.
I know, it's disgusting. Let's move on to actual retrograding. Because we've not really cleared up, and none of us have changed our mind from the start of the show to the end of the show about our opinions on the game.
Probably not.
Have we decided on our grading system yet? Are we
gonna
using
be-
grades or are you using numbers?
It's going to be a grade. You can do A+ is the highest, or A star.
Oh, what really? Can I think from 0 to 5, and then start at like C+, B-, just to make things weird.
Just confuse people. I give it a double G. Yeah,
I'm giving it a 7.H.
getting into algebra stuff. Okay, no. So a quick grade of the game, and
No, wait, so what are we using? Are we
grades,
using
letters,
right, okay.
F- to A+. We should have talked about this before the show, shouldn't we?
Well,
But
we
anyway,
don't do minus and pluses in England. That's an
I
American.
really want to use a number though. Can you guys use letters? And I
We'll
just
do
use a number?
letters. James can do a number.
Yeah, alright.
And then we'll
Yeah.
translate that back to a letter.
And then there's a little blurb of why you're giving it that grade. Yeah, because you've got to back up your grades. You know, you've got to put a little reason why. You can't just like mark a piece of paper for a student and just go F, you failed because you suck.
Yeah, well, I'm a teacher, I know that.
All right. We'll start with the most easy one, probably Anthony.
I give it a bird, tongue, face, exploding star. And the reason I give it that is because when
He's failed the grading already.
Oh, God.
It was a wonderful plan, Jack. Anthony's just ruined it.
No, I give it A+.
A star.
A star then.
Because, well, you've already kind of said, I guess.
Yeah,
but
I've already kind of said it, but to summarise, when I play it, it blasts happy at my face.
Wow, I was wondering what that was when we were playing it.
I do hate when games blast sadness at my face.
Yeah, there are some games that do it. Like the aforementioned Heavy Rain is all about being a normal girl living a normal life and having her kids kidnapped or whatever. And that's sadness, but Gunstar Heroes makes me happy while I play it.
That's funny you said that, because when I was playing it was making me very angry, but in a good way.
Was it blasting happiness? Wait, angriness at your face?
It was basically angry, only because it was really hard. So I felt, but when I beat the game,
It was really hard and it was blasting anger into your face.
my face.
Oh,
but when I beat a boss, you know, when I've beaten the boss off, and
She's
stuff,
still laughing. She's just lying back on the sofa laughing to herself.
so much editing is going to have to happen in this show. But when I beat the boss, I felt brilliant about myself as I'd beaten this game. I felt like I wanted, and I haven't had that feeling a long while in the game, that I wanted to go and high five someone and go, I beat this goddamn Dice Palace thing.
Did you beat it? I thought you just gave up.
I gave up by the time I ran out of time.
You didn't beat it. So
I never beat the actual game. It's still laughing at me back
Anthony,
home.
I'll high five you.
I didn't beat the game
On
exactly.
easy.
So this was supposed to be a one-sentence thing about why.
Well, sorry, okay.
Wasn't it, Jack?
I would give the game a B+. I think it's a very good game, very enjoyable. It's a little bit frustrating compared to today's modern-day standards. Graphically, it's held up really well, and I think that actually if you had a couple of hours to just, like Anthony said, had a bit of fun enjoying the game, I think it has held up quite well. So I'd give it a B+. James?
I'm going to give it a 7. I thought it was good, but not that good.
That's a C, people.
Is it?
Yeah.
C+.
So wait, it goes from A+.
A star is 10.
Yeah.
A is 9.
Yeah.
B is 8. C is 7. D is 4.
Wait, what?
E-
What about 6?
Oh no, wait, I missed out 6 and 5. Sorry, I'm really tired.
Did you just fail to count from 10 to 1?
If you guys just adopted my grading system of hieroglyphs, we wouldn't have these problems.
Okay, I'm giving it dog face, winking eye. 7. Just move on.
So you think it was good?
I thought it was
not
pretty
great.
good, but not amazing. I've played many better games.
Okay, fair enough, that's good. And lastly, Lysanne, what would you honestly give it? What would you honestly say about it?
Oh, because normally with grades there is a classification of a U, which is
That's like
ungradable.
you didn't even play it. That's like I didn't turn up for the. Is that not? Oh, ungradable.
Ungradable,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I'll put it
And
in.
below an F is a G. So
Thanks.
are we including the G and the U?
Well, you could go to Z if you want to be that kind
Well,
of.
no, because that's not.
That
That's not an
sounds powerful.
That's an actual thing. Okay, if we use,
exists,
no, I want to know what the bottom grade is.
Alright, well, I guess we'd have to go for an F-.
An F- would be the bottom grade.
Yeah.
I will give it an F+.
Oh man.
So why
For the music.
for the music?
The music was it wasn't even a redeeming feature.
Okay.
But yes, the music bumps it up a bit. I was going to go for an E, but then Anthony was a sexist pig, so I put it down to an F.
Well, that kind of was an interesting game though, because that rounds up quite neatly that among all of us, it would probably on average score about a C.
Yeah.
Do you mean a 7, Jack?
I mean, a 7, which,
Okay.
I think that's fair enough. This is why we're doing these games. We each have different opinions on them, and this is going to happen a lot, so that's quite cool. But, yeah, I guess we should round up the show right there. Just a quick reminder to head over to our sponsor, CuriousUser.org. Head over to some unique insights into video game industry. That's CuriousER.org. You can follow us on Twitter at Retrograde Show, or you can join us over on Reddit at the subreddit Psycon. That's our Psycon, where we're pasting a lot of our show notes and everything we mentioned today. I don't think we've mentioned much to do. Oh, you mentioned that heavy rock,
Yeah, the heavy rock
melody of the song.
Yeah.
So I'll put that in there and stuff. If you'd like to email us, you can email us at retrograde@psycon.org, and you can also follow and like us on Facebook. Just go on Facebook and search for Retrograde. I don't know how you use Facebook for like doing it. You've got so many means to get in contact with us. Just
We
get in
have
contact with
no
us.
Get in contact and let us know you're out there.
I reckon we might get a few about Gunstar people. Probably you, Lysanne, if we're going to go after you. I reckon.
Really?
I've had people. I slagged off Game of Thrones and I got hate mail.
Well, that's
You
'cause
slagged
you're
off
wrong.
Game of Thrones.
James, that's a whole other kettle of fish.
Jesus.
We'll stab him later.
We'll
it's
be
fine.
back in 2 weeks with Pokemon Red and Blue, which Lysanne you've chosen.
Yes.
Any reason why you chose that one?
Because Pokemon Red and Blue were absolutely amazing and were very, very key point of our collective childhoods. Because everyone, when Pokemon came out, was obsessed with Pokemon. I didn't know anyone that wasn't.
I'll save it for the next show, but
exactly. Yeah, they're awesome.
I was more into my Pogs.
Are you human?
Pogs were before Pokemon.
We should also say, are we going to do? I'm going to try get red.
I'm in playing red at the moment.
Are you guys happy with blue?
We'll do blue then.
Colour.
Yeah,
Blue, yeah, all right.
blue's my favourite colour, so works out.
So anyway, thank you for listening. That's the goodbye from Jack Marshall, goodbye from James MacFadyen, goodbye from Anthony Hobday. You meant to say goodbye after I said
goodbye.
I didn't give you a chance.
Goodbye for us.
Why are you saying goodbye for us?
Goodbye from Jack Marshall. Goodbye from Lysanne Fisher. Goodbye from Anthony Hobday. We'll see you later.
And we'll just found the show. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.